John McMullen's with us, 97.3 ESPN.com. I do want to get a couple thoughts from you, John. We had Scott Wright from Draft Countdown earlier today, and he said the Eagles could stand pat at number 8 and grab Paxton Lynch. He says, I like him better than Jared Goff anyway. You all right with that comment?
Well, it depends what you're looking for. Right now, as far as being NFL ready, no shot. Jared Goff's way ahead of Paxton Lynch, but a lot of people think Lynch has the higher ceiling as a prospect, better athlete, bigger, stronger, projects, if everything hits, to be a better player. So it's sort of what flavor you like, but you talk to most NFL scouts, they have Goff rated above Lynch. And a lot of that is due anytime you talk about a project, even one with a lot of gifts, there's a lot of question marks, because when you talk about potential, that P word, that's what gets coaches and general managers fired. So a lot of times you go for the safer choice, and I think a lot of people around the NFL look at Jared Goff and say he's the safer choice between those two, and throw in Carson Wentz for that matter, because they believe the same thing there. He's probably a safer pick, but Wentz has the higher ceiling.
Yeah, and another thing that he had said, and we talked about this, he said they put themselves into another tier. I asked him specifically, did he agree with Howie Roseman, that there's a drop-off after 10, and he said yes, and that's why they moved to 8, because he said that puts them in another tier of player, which, again, kind of goes back to the question of, what about, dropping back? If you're in that 8 spot, do you want to move back? Because that's where that drop-off seems to be. But if you liked Paxton Lynch, would you drop back to go get him? I mean, do you think the Eagles need it? Because he seems to think that the Eagles need to get a quarterback at number 8 if there's a guy there that they'd be foolish not to take him. But are you willing to move back to try to get Paxton Lynch?
Well, I think if you like him, you stand there and you take him, because there's always a concern with teams and desperate measures, and everyone's looking for quarterbacks. So you never know if you try to do that with the mentality that, we can still get him at 13, 14, whatever, all of a sudden you might have a team below that, say the Los Angeles Rams, who are really desperate for a quarterback. And if they see a guy sliding back on the board, all of a sudden they might try to move up. So if you really like him that much as a prospect, I think you just sit there at 8 and take him. I don't believe that's the Eagles' mentality. I think they do like Wentz. They do like Goff. I don't think they would take Lynch at number 8, but, that's what we're all speculating. A lot of people think they like Ezekiel Elliott at 8. I don't think that either. Mm-hmm. I think they have 10 players slotted that they think is that top tier. I don't think either of those two guys are in that top 10.
John, and by the way, Scott has Ezekiel Elliott going to the Eagles at number 8. I would, if the Eagles were to trade up and it was not for a quarterback, is there a player that you would target in a trade up, not a quarterback?
Well,
I know you like Miles. I know you like Miles Jack.
Yeah, I mean everybody likes Miles Jack. Two different people told me he's number 1 on the Eagles board, so I don't think they would trade up simply because I don't think it's cost effective. But that's, as a pure football player, that's who they like. I think the only possibility of trying to move up again is Wentz, if they like him that much. And it's pretty clear by the way they're handling things. On Monday, they're out looking at Jared Goff. Tuesday, today, they're looking at Kevin Hogan of Stanford. So it's pretty clear they want to get a quarterback somewhere in this draft. It's a matter of, are they going to strike early or try to get the mid-range prospect that could develop down the road. But I think by their actions every day, you kind of figure out that they do not believe by any means that Sam Bradford is the answer, and they want to find the answer. So if they think Wentz is that guy, you got to go try and get him.
John, you mentioned Goff. What does it say about our culture, what we've become social media-wise, that picture of Doug Peterson and Howie on the plane blew up?
I say poor Howie and poor Doug, and people are also talking about the food they brought onto the plane. I mean, it's one thing if you're a Hollywood star, you sort of get used to the paparazzi and you lose your anonymity. But, to be a general manager of a football team and a head coach, you think you could fly first class around the draft and have a little bit of privacy. But that's where we are.
Were they in
There's
first
nothing you
class?
can do about
It looked like Coach. I mean, especially if they had their own peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Yeah, that part doesn't make sense. I don't know how he's thin, so I don't know if he's on a diet bringing his own food. But they were in first class, so yeah, Jeffrey Lurie's not skimping on that part of it.
Hey, John, I wanted to ask you, yesterday we talked about Fitzpatrick as the best remaining free agent, but I forgot that Greg Hardy is still out there. Is there any buzz on him at all?
No, not really. I think the Cowboys might acquiesce because they're so desperate for a pass rusher. They might bring him back on a one-year team-friendly deal, but he's got so much baggage, and he acted afterwards. Forget about the things, and it's difficult to do, that he did in Charlotte because they were horrific. But then if you think about the way he acted in Dallas last year, it only doubles down that this guy's a knucklehead, and it speaks to the fact of how much talent he is, and he's still out there on the street. And you could say the same thing about Aldon Smith, for that matter, who is basically was a similar player to Von Miller with the 49ers when the 49ers were going to 3 straight NFC championship games. He was as dominant as an edge rusher in this league as he got until things went off the rails, and he's going to be suspended again. So you have 2 of those guys out there, and it's sad that they've kind of ruined their careers.
John McMullen, 97.3 ESPN.com. John, we talked earlier, okay? Villanova's in the Final Four. Is it okay for a Big 5 alum to support Villanova, or should they be against Villanova?
Well, I think if you're from a Big 5 school, and I'll even throw Drexel in there, so say City 6, I don't think you can root for Villanova.
Not root, just support. Just support them. Like, I'm happy for them.
No, I mean, if I'm St. Joe's, if I'm LaSalle, I hate Villanova.
Temple.
Why am I going to support them?
I went to Temple.
At Temple, obviously Temple, same way. And you can argue, hey, when we say City 6, Villanova's not even from the city. They're on the main line. So, and everybody who goes there is from New York anyway. So I don't know if you're going to get support from Temple and St. Joe's people. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I find that to be a fascinating little dynamic, that the Temple people who hate them during the year are now supporting them in the run here. I don't know. All right, Sports Bash 97.3. When the NFL news happens, John's got it at JF McMullen on Twitter. For all the Eagles news and notes, go to 97.3 ESPN.com. Thanks, John.
Hey, thanks, guys.